right, carriers and truck drivers and mother truckers, I'm telling you right now, you guys been waiting for some decent news. The FMCSA possibly got something right for once. You know, they had a proposed rule that they want to really crack down on freight brokers. And now they're actually making a final rule that starts tomorrow, November 16th, and it's going to actually go into effect January 16th of 2024. So the FMCSA issues a major new rule to crack down on unscrupulous freight brokers. Now, what does that actually mean? We know that as truck drivers and carriers, we're going to have to carry hundreds and thousands of dollars of cargo insurance for anyone to even want to work with us. But the brokers, they have the surety bond of only $75,000. I think that's wrong right there. It should be like $500,000. It shouldn't be that low, right? And so here's the thing. You know, in the past, if a freight broker knows that they can't pay all these claims that are happening to the carrier or a truck driver, they would just keep on putting loads on the load board and just working these drivers knowing that they're not going to pay them, because 30, 40, 50 days might go by. And before that, the FMCSA would even see this, and then months go by before they get suspended. Now the rule has changed, and basically the FMCSA is like, look, if it goes down from the $75,000, you got 7 days to pay this. If you don't pay the claims, then the FMCSA will suspend you right away. So this should help with the brokers that are going to commit fraud. There's so many companies that I've done stories about where they made their drivers drive for, months, so long that they owe all these drivers so much money knowing that they're not going to pay them. Right. So let's break this down if you have time to listen to this here. Right. It says, in a final rule to be published in Federal Registered on November 16th of 2023, the FMCSA will toughen up financial security rules to better protect truckers from brokers who fail to pay them. All right. So here's a couple guidelines that they're going to go by. Right. There's 5 here, and I'm going to read through every single one of them. But I pretty much gave you the summary here. First one, assets readily available. Current law requires that broker, freight forwarder, trust funds consist of assets readily available to pay claims without resort to personal guarantees or collection of pledged accounts receivables. The final rule updates definition of assets readily available to those that are stable in value and can be easily liquidated within 7 calendar days of an event that triggers a payment from the trust. Okay, so number 2, the immediate suspension of broker, freight forwarder, operating authority. I think this might be one of the biggest ones here. Perhaps the most significant change. This rule would allow the FMCSA to suspend a broker or freight forwarder operating authority registration with their available financial security that falls below the $75,000 that we talked about. The available financial security could occur because a broker or freight forwarder consents to a drawdown, or if a broker or freight forwarder does not respond to a valid notice of claim from a surety or trust provider, or if a claim against the broker or freight forwarder is converted to a judgment. If the available financial security falls below $75,000, and the broker or freight forwarder does not replenish funds within 7 calendar days after the notice from the FMCSA, the agency will issue a notification of suspension of operating authority to broker or freight forwarder. Think that is actually a really good thing, but Mutha Truckers, comment down below. You know, sometimes more rules aren't the best thing for drivers. In this situation, do you think that this is going to help from freight brokers basically committing fraud against drivers and carriers by not paying them, right? Number 3, the surety or trust responsibilities in cases of broker, freight forwarder, financial failure, or insolvency. This rule requires that if surety trustee becomes aware that a broker or freight forwarder is experiencing financial failure, it must notify the FMCSA and initiate a cancellation of the financial responsibility. FMCSA will then publish a notice of failure in the FMCSA register. If the broker or freight forwarder subsequently cures the default and the surety company of financial institutions reinstates the bond or trust, or the broker or freight forwarder obtains a new bond or trust, FMCSA will lift the suspension notice and update the FMCSA register. Number 4, enforcement authority. The rule establishes FMCSA authority for the suspension of surety or trust fund providers authority in certain circumstances. All right, so number 5 is a big one as well. Entities eligible to provide trust funds for brokers and freight forwarders. So in this rule, FMCSA removes the loan and finance companies from the list of providers eligible to serve as a trustee. So from this right here, it says loan and finance companies will now be prohibited from offering trusts unless they obtain certification to operate as another type of financial institution that remains on the list of eligible providers. So what I'm hearing from this right here is right now, as it goes, if you have to get $75,000 on a surety bond for claims that you might have to pay to drivers, right now they let you get a loan on that, right? And so it sounds like to me they're not going to let brokers get a loan on that $75,000. Why? Because they only have $5,000 to $10,000, as far as skin in this game as it is, right? So, I think it's a good thing, man. If they gotta have that 75,000 up front, I mean, that's the least, because drivers, we are responsible for everything. Mud Truckers, comment down below. What are your thoughts about everything? But I think this could be a good thing. This is pretty much going to help fight against freight brokers that are booking loads when they shouldn't be, when they should be paying the claims and the drivers that they haven't paid already. It only makes sense. So Mud Truckers, comment down below. But yeah, I think this is some good news. Debate me on this. Tell me if you think it's good, if it's bad. Would love to hear from you guys. This channel is all about just bringing everything into the open. So I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time.